Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. Now that fires are erupting and rapidly expanding across the state, the U.S. Forest Service said they'll bring back controlled burns. That's as one major fire grew 5 times in size in one day. An accidental rolling blackout hit one California county. We'll see what caused people to lose power on Tuesday night. And as most of the state tried to stay cool with air conditioning, a group of workers had no choice but to endure the week-long heat wave. We'll hear about how they dealt with it. Firefighters continue to battle blazes throughout the state, with no help from the extreme heat this last week. In response, the U.S. Forest Service chief has encouraged the use of controlled burns, a fire control resource that California has wrapped in red tape.
As the state grapples with another summer of wildfires, the U.S. Forest Service announced it will restart the practice of intentionally lighting small fires to control larger fires, known as prescribed burns. That's after a 3-month hiatus to review the risk of runaway wildfires.
So prescribed fire is an important tool. It's a key tool for us. And, let's face it, we have a crisis out there on our landscapes. The fact that we've been seeing recent escapes and the fact that conditions on the ground have changed, I determined because of that in light of these incidents, that it was necessary to really pause and take a look at our prescribed fire programs.
According to Moore, these burns will now require same-day authorization to keep up with changing weather and ground conditions.
It's going to be only where conditions allow us to, and where we don't have a lot of fire activity in a particular area. We just need to do our due diligence and making sure that the models that we're using are appropriate, that we recognize that the changing conditions in our environment are being considered in how we plan and implement these prescribed burning.
He added that more accountability and research needs to be done on using prescribed burns. According to a June report from the Property and Environment Research Center, prescribed burns in California take on average 7 years to be used. Moore's announcement comes as the Mosquito fire burning in Placer County grew almost 5 times in size since yesterday. The blaze now covers over 29,000 acres. It's threatening 3,600 homes in both Placer and El Dorado counties. Flames recently jumped across the American River, destroying structures in Volcanoville. As of the afternoon, the fire was at the edge of Forestville and may also threaten Georgetown. Smoke from the blaze is covering the area and blowing eastward towards Reno, where potential hazardous air condition warnings have been issued. The fire's cause remains under investigation, but PG&E said unspecified electrical activity occurred close in time to when the fire was reported on September 6th.
From fire to wind and water, Tropical Storm K started to drench parts of the West Coast Friday. K currently has winds reaching 60 miles per hour. It's located a little more than 200 miles outside of San Diego. The most recent forecast track shows K weakening before it heads offshore Saturday. The storm has already brought light rain to parts of San Diego. Officials say parts of Arizona will likely also see heavy rain and winds. Some spots could get up to 8 inches of rain throughout the weekend. About 1,400 people in Silicon Valley were cut off from power for an hour Tuesday night during triple-digit record temperature. Grid officials say it was a mistake caused by miscommunication.
California Independent System Operator issued a Level 3 energy emergency alert a little after 5 p.m. Tuesday to warn utility providers to prepare for rolling blackouts. But a handful of operators went ahead with the outages and let local providers believe that they had been ordered. President and CEO of ISO, Elliot Mainzer, confirmed on Wednesday,
"We endured the hottest triple-digit temperatures yet in a historic week-long heat wave. Demand for electricity on our grid peaked at 52,061 megawatts, a level we have not seen before in California. Of note, it was also the highest recorded load for the broader Western interconnection. Just one day earlier, consumers responded to our Flex Alert calls to reduce electricity demand and came through with about 1,000 megawatts of scheduled savings, which made a big difference.
Alameda Municipal Power said in a statement that they merely followed instructions when the Northern California Power Agency, NCPA, told them to begin load shedding operations. Palo Alto Utilities and Alameda Municipal Power initiated rolling outages but quickly called them off. The calls for power conservation came as a heat dome baked most of the state this week and is expected to dissipate over the weekend. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
Many parts of California reached triple digits during this week's heat wave, while some people had to face energy conservation calls to lower their thermostats. Others had to work all day in the scorching heat. I visited a construction site in Silicon Valley to hear how workers dealt with it. California is at the tail end of a week of extreme heat, but that hasn't stopped state construction workers. Jose Medina, a construction foreman, works for internet service providers. He's currently repairing the asphalt pavement in Santa Clara, California. He says he and his team work 8 to 9 hours in the baking sun.
I feel hot. It's kind of hard to work on this day because your body's not the same. When you're working in the morning, you can feel the power, but sometime in the afternoon, you feel weak. Our boss brings some waters, you know what I mean? With cold ice and everything.
When you get a wind or a breeze come by, how does that feel?
So our air conditioner is the wind. Yeah, we don't have any condition outside.
The workers wore light-colored long sleeves to not only block UV rays, but also increase their visibility for drivers. It's a sweltering temperature out here, and a lot of the workers are just always in the sun, and they often just break a sweat. Now, what keeps them going is their family and the lifestyle of the work.
Just my family. Yeah, I support my family. That's what keep me going to work.
So it's a livelihood. You just got to, this is my life. This is my business. So, just got to keep doing what you do.
Matthew Crick helps run an inventory business. He calls himself the muscles of the team.
I've been moving stuff all day since around 7 a.m. And, you just got to do what you got to do. When it's hot, you sweat, you wipe yourself down with a little rag, but you just keep muscling through it.
In buildings without AC, fans are the only option.
None of these buildings here have AC. It's just a matter of you keep the door open and a fan on. There's a skylight, but that lets in maybe an additional 10 degrees of heat just pouring in on you. Once 100 degrees, it's 100 degrees in there. We just live with it.
Some areas in California are expected to cool down by this weekend. Crick is looking forward to cooler temperatures. David Lamb, NTD News, California. The California Correctional Center, located in the rural town of Susanville, is set to close by June 2023. Lassen County Superior Court visiting Judge Robert Moody ruled on Wednesday that the State Corrections Department may immediately resume its plan to close the prison. The state announced the prison's closure back in April 2021, setting a closure date for June of this year. But the city of Susanville previously filed a preliminary injunction halting the closure. In a turn of events, this year's budget bill included a section forcing the prison to close along the original schedule. We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. The state's taken an extra step in mandatory kindergarten. It's in the governor's hand to approve or deny the legislation. And we'll tell you the story of a man who loves a beach covered in glass. Not broken glass, but beautiful, smooth, colorful pebbles. That and more on California Today. The California Senate has moved the state one step closer to mandating kindergarten for all students.
It's now up to Governor Gavin Newsom whether to sign a bill into law making kindergarten mandatory. SB 70 was passed with a 33-5 vote and would require a child complete 1 year at kindergarten before being admitted to first grade in public schools. If signed into law, the bill would come into effect in the 2024 to 2025 school year. The bill argues that kids who attend kindergarten are, quote, more likely to go to college and earn higher wages. It adds they are less likely to experience poverty during adulthood. Democratic Senator Susan Rubio, who authored the bill, said in a press release that she has witnessed the detrimental impact on young students who miss out on fundamental early education. However, opponents, including the California Homeschool Network, oppose the bill and call it unnecessary. They say the bill would make kids attend 13 years of formal education rather than 12. If this law is enacted, California will be the 20th state in the United States to mandate kindergarten. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
People all over the world reflected on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. In California, Angelenos recalled memories of her.
British expats and Americans living in Los Angeles reflected on Queen Elizabeth II in the wake of her death on Thursday.
She was on the throne when she was 17. Unbelievable. And I was 15, of course, 2 years behind. And I just cannot believe it's all those years. And she has been absolutely unbelievable, but unbelievable. Not just a queen serving the nation, she was loved by the complete Commonwealth. And it's a tragedy.
The 94-year-old, originally from the English city of Leeds, has lived in Los Angeles for more than 40 years. Skibbons says the Queen was well loved and respected.
It's amazing. We had Americans in as well, not just the British. And they felt personally, it was, it was a tragic situation to be going through. Not their queen, but for some reason they felt a closeness to her.
In the San Fernando Valley, at a British-style pub named Robin Hood, customers and the owner alike watched a live broadcast from London.
It all happened so quickly, and when we saw the family coming in, we thought, oh dear, that's not good. And then all of a sudden, we were told she passed. Very sad. She was very loved. Toast to the Queen. She will always be remembered.
Customers also came to honor the Queen and raise a cup in her memory.
Once we heard that the Queen is dead, long live the King, we decided that we had to go to a little British pub and raise a cuppa to the Queen because we adored her. I think this is a very sad day. I mean, everyone dies, everyone gets old, and I'm glad that she didn't linger in some horrible state, that she was able to go peacefully, and that's wonderful. Doesn't mean I won't miss her.
Not everyone was as sympathetic. One expat said she wasn't happy with all the attention the royal family receives.
To the Queen, the only constant thing is change. And it really is now time to change. And maybe as an angel, the Queen could do more with her wings than she did in real life because she wasn't allowed to, maybe.
Another guest said he appreciated that despite the negative media attention some members of the family generate, the Queen was the one who held everyone together.
Some people in the royal family do seem to be outsiders and troublemakers, if you will, and I think she was kind of the glue that held everyone together, more or less. But yeah, I mean, we hear about the people who the royal family doesn't like a lot more than the ones that the family does like. So unfortunately, that's what we see in our newsstands is everyone who's on the outs. And obviously there's got to be somebody who holds it all together, and that was what she did.
After the Queen passed away, Prince Charles immediately ascended to king. His coronation will be held at a later date.
The popular Glass Beach in Northern California continues to attract visitors from near and far. One former sailor who opened up the Sea Glass Museum tells NTD's Eileen Ng how the beach came to be.
Millions of smooth, prismatic pebbles of glass blanket shores near Fort Bragg, giving the famous site its nickname, Glass Beach. Though the glass pebbles are not quite an all-natural formation, they've been drawing tourists for decades. Joseph Cass-Forrington, a former sea captain and owner of the Sea Glass Museum, says it was just considered a local beach when he visited with a friend.
We were sitting there one day, and I was looking around at the glass, and I said, this is pretty. I said, somebody should do something with this. And I had 2 girls in college at the time that were keeping me tapped out. I'm on a pension, so I wanted a little money to go play golf. And I haven't played golf since I started doing it, but that's what the original intent was.
He started to collect the glass and display his collection in a small display at a friend's house.
He was there one day and a woman came in, and just the one display case, she said, "Boy, this is like a museum." And he told me that, and I said, "Well, actually, I'd like to start a museum." So he cleaned out his office space, another room, and I started with these few display cases you see here and there. And it was such a hit that the next year we cleaned out another large room, and I got these display cases and put them in there. And then the next year another room, and then next year another room, and then the next year another room, until you see this whole collection here.
Since 2005, he has owned the Sea Glass Museum and sold sea glass jewelry. The glass, which is now treasured by Forrington and tourists alike, instead started out as trash discarded at sea. Then nature took over, beautifying man's waste.
Our ancestors didn't have landfills and places to take their trash, so if you lived on the water, on the river, on a lake, on an ocean, on a bay, that's where you threw your trash. Now, there was nothing wrong with it. It was all biodegradable, which meant it was bio-nourishing. What makes Fort Bragg different is that the rock formations here set up wave patterns that keep everything on the beach. Nothing ever washes away here. All right, so they didn't realize that at the time, of course, when they started dumping.
The most common colors are white, green, and amber glass. The rarest are red, orange, and purple.
These 1 in 10,000 pieces, you see how few I have.
Yeah.
And some of those were donated, a couple of them.
Wow.
I only found 4 in 10 years.
Why is it so rare? Is it because...
They just didn't make much of that glass.
Oh, the purple glass.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reds are rare because they're mostly used in the taillights of old cars. And the orange were the turn signals of old cars. But the red, the bright red, has gold in it to give it its luster.
He sorts and identifies them with the help of what he calls the Bible of sea glass, called Pure Sea Glass by Richard Lamotte. The museum also has a blacklight room that would make the glass glow.
Yeah, but there were 2 makers that back in the 30s put uranium in the glass to brighten the colors, and that was mostly in the green jadeite glass. That's a very popular thing. Any glass that glows under a black light we call Vaseline glass. Not because it's part of a Vaseline jar or anything, but just Vaseline glass because it has uranium in it. And it wasn't just the green. They put it in other colors too to brighten them, some aquas, some reds, bright lemon, oranges, and bright limes and bright yellows.
It became an official dumping ground in 1906 after the earthquake.
So we have 3 dump sites, 1906 to 1943, 1943 to 1949, and 1949 to 1967. And the last of those, Site 3, that's Glass Beach, what people call Glass Beach. The other beaches I just call Site 1 and Site 2.
According to Forrington, Glass Beach used to have 7 feet thick of glass. Now it's mostly depleted. Because of the bio-nourishing aspects of glass, Forrington believes it's important to locally recycle the glass to replenish the beaches.
The sea glass has created the richest marine environment in at least Northern California. And that's because glass is made, colored, and clarified with minerals. And as the glass dissolves in the salt water, which gives us this nice patina, it releases those minerals, and that's the basis of the food chain. So our glass beaches are teeming with life. In between the glass that you can't even see, microfauna, microflora, and then little shrimps and worms and insects that are in there eating those, and it just goes up.
Forrington advocates for the formation of glass reefs to initiate a food chain in depleted areas worldwide. Eileen Ang, NTD News, Fort Bragg, California.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you your California Today Sports Roundup. The world of sport reacted to the death of Queen Elizabeth on Thursday, with a raft of cancellations across cricket, golf, rugby, and cycling, while others paid tribute by holding a minute's silence. The US-based National Football League observed a moment of silence before the start of the regular season opening game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Buffalo Bills. The U.S. Open Tennis Championships and Motor Racing's Formula One will also observe silences. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe hailed the Queen for her role in the successful staging of the 2012 London Olympics. The Queen, Britain's longest reigning monarch, died peacefully at her home in Scotland at age 96. 49ers tight end George Kittle is dealing with a groin injury that could keep him off the field in San Francisco's season-opening matchup against the Chicago Bears. Kittle did not practice Wednesday or Thursday of this week in an attempt to mitigate some of the impact of the injury. The 28-year-old Kittle has played in only 22 of a possible 33 regular season games for the 49ers in the last 2 seasons, seemingly always racking up minor nagging injuries due to his physical style of play. For San Francisco, George Kittle was likely going to serve as a safety valve receiver for second-year quarterback Trey Lance. If he plays, Kittle's stable presence would greatly help Lance in his first game as the official QB1 of the 49ers. Instead, the Red and Gold will have to turn to seasoned wideouts Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel to bolster the passing game and support Lance in his first go-round. In 14 regular season starts last year, Kittle pulled in 71 of his 94 targets for 910 yards and 6 touchdowns. The stage was set for the Los Angeles Rams to begin their title defense Thursday night in their season opener against the Buffalo Bills. The sleek SoFi Stadium was alive with Rams fans waiting for the 2021-22 Super Bowl champions to start the regular season off with a win, but Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen had other plans. Allen passed for 3 touchdowns and ran for 1 more in the Bills' 31-10 drubbing of the Rams. He started the season off strong, completing 26 of his 31 passing attempts for 297 yards. Despite his statistical accuracy, Josh Allen had 2 passes picked off for interceptions, but Los Angeles was unable to capitalize on the turnovers. Allen also led the Bulls in rushing with 56 yards on 10 carries. Buffalo totaled 121 yards on the ground versus the Rams' paltry 52-yard showing. Bills wideout Stephon Diggs caught 8 of his 9 targets for 122 yards and a touchdown. The Rams' problems against the Bills lie in the turnover margin. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford recorded 3 interceptions to 1 touchdown and was sacked 7 times on his way to a 29-for-41 passing performance for 240 yards. The Rams spread the ball around in their passing attack with 4 different players totaling 5 or more targets by Stafford. Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp led the Rams offense with his 13 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. Darrell Henderson Jr. also had a strong showing, converting 13 carries into 47 rushing yards and also catching 5 passes for 26 yards. However, no other Los Angeles skill position player totaled more than 50 yards of offense across running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. The Rams will look to regroup from their season-opening loss at home against the Atlanta Falcons on September 18th. Bills 31, Rams 10.
That's all for California sports. Back to you.
And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for Liang Jiang. Have a wonderful weekend.